Welcome to the 7th edition of the Global Hospitality Education Expo. We're delighted to be here in Delhi. We started our event in Chennai, we went to Bangalore, and we're here in Delhi today. It's a lovely feeling to be back in Delhi. The vibe here, the people here are amazing, and we're kickstarting the session with a fantastic panel discussion. So today's panel discussion is going to straddle two aspects. One, of course, is careers in culinary arts. The other is in terms of hospitality entrepreneurship. So turning passion into profit. Today we're going to hear from two hospitality experts, and they're innovators in their own right. Let me start by giving you a small introduction for our guest. To my left is Chef Parth Gupta. So I think from the time he was a young child, he really loved cooking, and he never hesitated to go in the kitchen and try his hands at different dishes, different bakery dishes as well. And it's his curiosity and his desire to learn that, made him go to Le Cordon Bleu in London. And he came back and he's always had the desire to have his own establishment. So Bloom Cafe and Cakery is a fantastic outlet that is really doing a lot of different things. During the course of the event, we'll talk to Parth a little bit more about that. Further to my left is Kartikeya Sinha. So Chef Kartik is also based in Delhi. He studied at the Culinary Institute of America. He's worked in Indonesia for a couple of years. Then he came to Mumbai and he was part of the Bombay Canteen and also the pre-opening team of the Bombay Sweet Shop. Both these outlets have really pushed the envelope in terms of culinary innovation. And in the current times, Kartik has his own setup, Kartik's Kitchen, which works on pop-ups, catering, and even home delivery. So first, let me start by saying a big thank you to our panelists for being here today. We're delighted that you're here.
Thank you so much.
Let's jump straight into the session. Let me ask you both, and maybe Parth, you could answer, and then Kartik. What really attracted you to, build a career in this industry?
So I think food, technically, if you all here on a Saturday morning and you're here for a hospitality expo, you know that food is the answer to all your problems. So I really think that I had this thing in my head since like a very young age that I used to watch people's faces when they used to eat food, and when even if they're very sad or they're very angry, they just kind of tend to mellow down. They're happy. So good food can make wonders. So I really think that that was one of the most pushing aspects for me to enter the industry. So I was in the kitchen since a very young age, as Mr. Amit mentioned. So yes, I was cooking a lot, and it was just, I think, always there. My mom cooked a lot, and I think I got it from her. So I used to sit in the slab of the kitchen and watch my mom cook, watch my people cook there, and then they used to make rotis. I used to assist them in making rotis. And I started with a very, very small hint of all of that. And after that, I think the first roti that you make, that's not like perfectly round, then it's like all thick and like all burnt from sides and stuff. So you just serve that to your parents, and your parents are still very encouraging, and then they're promoting you. They're like, oh wow, you're doing so great. You just kind of feel really nice just serving a plate of food that brought a smile on their faces. So I think that was like the sparking moment, and it really grew and grew with all of my age. And I used to experiment more and more, and I started exploring other cuisines as well. And I think the most important aspect that attracted me to this industry was the power of food and how it can, bring smiles on the faces of people, and it can really make everyone, really, really happy. However mad they are, however sad they are, a good plate of food can bring answers to all of your questions.
Awesome. I've seen that happen so often. You have a good meal and everyone just keeps quiet, right? Kartik, please tell us about your story.
Sure. So, before I got into cooking formally, I had done a few other things, studied other things as well. And, for me, nothing else really brought the satisfaction in terms of being able to do it every day other than cooking. And I was always interested in cooking since a young age. I think a lot of people who end up in the industry have that kind of interest from a young age usually. It just took me, I guess I didn't really consider it as a career initially. And like Parth said, I mean, it's that, that smile that you see or that joy that it brings in other people, the people you care about or whoever you may be serving it to. And that just, I don't know, it makes you feel happy inside.
Awesome. So really it's about passion, and it's never too late to discover your passion. You may start off in another industry, and we've seen this happen so often that you have students who may start studying commerce or arts or sometimes even science because that's what their parents told them or that's what their friends told them. But later on they realize that their true calling is in the world of hospitality or culinary. And if you look at the number of entrepreneurs that have sprung up in our country, and in fact, even in this city, a lot of those ventures are in the hospitality and culinary space. You know, so let me come to and ask you another question. Can you tell us a little bit about your education? So, Parth, you studied at LCP. You know, Kartik, you were at CIA. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience of studying abroad? How has that shaped you as a professional?
So I think I would really add to Mr. Amit's point of the not being, in the same stream since the beginning. Because even with my thing, I was into business management and I pursued business management for a long time, and only to realize that food is actually where I wanted to go. And it was pretty late. I think it was in 2019. So just like 4 years back, I just realized, I just sparked me, that actually this is the thing. And this is not the case just with me. This is the case with a lot of chefs that are there in the industry right now as well. Like from big chefs to small chefs, even Chef Vikas Khanna or anyone, you can just look for them. And I've been talking to them, and I've been talking to a lot of chefs in the industry, and I have realized that more than 60-70% of them actually didn't have this planned out, and they just they had this calling in them, and they were like, food was what made them really happy. So I think that's what brought them back to the industry, and that's how they started exploring. And for my education, I think, so I was in King's College London at first, and then I did my culinary side by side with Le Cordon Bleu. I think, being there was a really, really nice experience. It really enhances, your diversity in your mind. And it really pushes you to learn newer cuisines, newer people. It's not just about learning about, just your cuisine or just, sharing your thoughts. You meet so many different people from across the world. They share about their cuisines. And I think in food, it's really, really important to never stop learning. Like there's always something to learn. There's always something to innovate. And there are new cuisines popping up every now and then. You cannot, stop learning. So I think this hunger for learning and this curiosity is really, really important in this industry. And I think your creative mindset develops when you meet newer people, when you exit your comfort zone, when you take newer leaps. So I think that's really important. So I think Le Cordon Bleu shaped a lot of that. I was able to meet a lot of people from France, and French pastry is one of the peak pastry arts in the world. So they used to share their knowledge, how they used to do it at their homes. And then you kind of learn about the local ingredients as well. There are major differences in the ingredients that are available in India versus what are available in London versus what are available elsewhere in the world. So when you kind of go out, when you travel, you realize the small differences that make a huge difference in the end plate of the food. There are differences in the flour, how it's grown, where it's grown. That changes everything. How your dairy comes, and what is the fat percentage in your dairy, or like anything or anything. Even the onions are different in different countries. The tomatoes are different. For example, you might know that we use San Marzano tomatoes in pastas. So we don't use Indian tomatoes, but we can't use San Marzano in the Indian gravies. It really ruins the taste. So I think that's what you kind of learn when you're abroad. And that's really what, brings you out of your shell and lets you explore more and more.
Sure, that's great. Please, Kartik, add to that. If you
Absolutely. So I think, like Parth said, one of the biggest things is that one, it gets you out of your comfort zone. So you have to adapt, because in the hospitality industry in general, it's very, very important to be adaptable. Whether it's from your ingredients or if you're dealing with guests, you just have to have that kind of mindset to be, flexible, to be able to work with what you have, deal with the situation. So I think that start of kind of going far away from home is a good thing. I think for everyone, you should get out of your house, get out of your comfort zone, be somewhere new, and you have to keep learning. There's no what's the word for it? No two ways about it, right? It's very important to keep learning. And when you're in, like when I was at the CIA, it was just I was surrounded by food nerds. People, I mean, you live, breathe, sleep food. It's just always on your mind. So, and aside from that is the level of the faculty, the exposure you get. For example, I went, as part of my culinary degree, we had to do an externship. So I went to a Michelin-starred restaurant in the Napa Valley for 18 weeks. And so, I mean, I don't know, from India, going to some place like that, just as a student, I don't know how possible it would be. And it's a very different level of exposure, I think, overall.
Right. I think both of you made some very good points, and exposure is one of the key things here. You do have good institutes in India, so if you were to pursue your program in India, you can still get good outcomes. But one of the key differentiators of a course abroad is the fact that you're interacting with people from different nationalities. So there's definitely a learning that happens in the classroom, but there's also a learning in life that happens outside the classroom, where you're interacting with people from different nationalities, you're learning about different cuisines, different cultures, which as a culinary professional is great. I remember once interacting with a chef, and he said that, in your mind, there's a culinary dictionary, and you're adding to your dictionary when you're sampling new food, when you're keeping your mind and your taste buds open to new flavors, right? And that really enhances you as a professional. So this is fantastic. I wanted to ask both of you, to maybe share with students, what do you see as the most essential ingredients of a successful venture?
So I think that's a very kind of a broad question, but yeah, that has quite a few points that I could answer. So first, I think, again, just emphasizing on the point that I made earlier, we never stop experimenting, and we are always curious. Like, I am the guy, so for example, if you're at a wedding, Indian weddings have loads of food. So there are people who will always attack dal makhani, that's it. They will attack dal makhani, they will attack their butter chicken, their paneer lababdar, that's all. Like, I think that's what differentiates me from them. I am the person, I just tried like a green chili halwa at one of the weddings. I was pretty impressed by that. Like, so you need to be aware of what all can be done. Like, your taste buds need to be very active. You need to always keep an eye on the new concepts. You should always, and you should never, stop your, learning thoughts. So, and apart from that, I think as a business venture, so this is not just about food. And I think if you're starting your own venture, it's always a combination of your food and your business economics. So in terms of the business, I would really say that once you have a clear picture of what you want to do, you should really, really stay focused on that. Like, you should not listen to maybe the society, or you should not listen to your friends demotivating you. If you trust your concept, so first, I think the really important part is that you should trust your concept first. And once you trust your concept, I think everyone will fall in love with that one, or sometime or the other. You should always, keep your line streamed, and not look here and there. Do not look at your competitors. That's really important. Like, competitor analysis is important for getting the market trends, but it's not important for assessing your own performance. If you assess your performance with your competitors, you will always just be like, yaar, ye itna acha kar raha hai, I'm not doing that. He's doing this, I'm not doing this. You will always just end up comparing, and you will not kind of go on your own path. And I think that really blocks your creative mind space as well. Like, if you always just look at your competitors, your mind will only think about the products that he is making. And your mind will not be able to think about the products that you could actually make, or create your own things. So it's really important to stay focused on your path and see what you can do to the industry, what you can do to bring happiness amongst people, what you can do to excite people. And I think it's really important to stay focused. Stay focused in your own thing, instead of like focusing on what others are doing in the industry.
So, I think one of the, kind of echoing what Parth said, one of the important things is kind of you have to find your niche, your what you can do to differentiate yourself from A, B, C, D. I mean, everybody can make, say, dal makhani or whatever, rice. Then what do you bring to the table? That's from a business point of view to kind of, there's, say, like he has a bakery, right? There's a million bakeries all over the place. So what makes, Bloom any different, right? You have to have something that kind of, what do you bring to the table? From business, that's from like the business point of view. And then, yeah, you have to, I think, when you're starting something, it's a lot of hard work. It's much more work than you imagine, and you just have to stick to it. There's no two ways about it. If you're working for yourself, on one hand, it's great. You like, I don't feel like working today, I won't do it. But if you don't work, then you're not making anything, right? If you're working for someone, you have that stability. But then, yeah, the other side is you're not, you're working for someone. I mean, I think it may or may not be for you. Every person is different, of course. But if you want to do something of your own, then yeah, you have to put in the hard work.
Awesome. I think there's some good takeaways here. And if I can summarize, having a differentiating product is really important. Finding your niche, focusing very strongly on execution, keeping your head, straight, very leveled, not being distracted by what's happening in terms of what others are doing, but really focusing on what you're delivering and doing it well is so important. Today, customers are very discerning. We're dealing with a global audience, even in Indian city. Indians are traveling around the world. They're exploring cuisines and cultures and service levels in different parts of the world. And when they come back to their home city, they want that same level of finesse, quality, and service delivery. And as Indian entrepreneurs, we have to step up and deliver. Not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. Making a career in this industry is still very exciting and promising if you're working for someone. So some people will walk down the path of starting their own venture, which is fine. Some people will walk down the path of joining a more, having an established brand that they would like to work with, which is also fine. But it's an industry which is growing and needs qualified people. So in terms of job prospects, it's fantastic. Okay, I wanted to ask you, Parth, you're dealing with bakery products. And there's so much, there are so many trends out there in the market where people are becoming more conscious about their health. They're thinking, let me have something vegetarian. Let me have something which is vegan. So what really kind of motivated you to walk down that path? Maybe you can just tell us about that.
So, as I said, I think differentiation is really important, and that's one thing. So, I think my business mind kind of identified this huge gap in this industry, where so India is one of the most predominantly vegetarian countries in the world, and we have always been, looking for eggless bakes and cakes without gelatin, and so these are not really available in the market at a premium scale. So when I went to Le Cordon and when I was exposed to so many different kind of ingredients, and I used to, realize the quality difference in the dairy or in whatever final products that I was making, I think it really sparked me that, I want this quality food back in India. When I came back to start that, I really found this huge gap that, there is eggless bakes, but there is no one doing eggless bakes in the premium segment. So I am using the finest of the chocolates that are available in the market. You might have heard about Valrhona or Calibou. We use that. We use all French creams. We don't use, artificial whipping agents or something like that. So obviously, it depends on your audience and how you want to sell your product. But my personal vendetta with Bloom was that I want to serve premium quality products which are available without eggs as well. So I think it took a lot of R&D. I was never afraid of failing a recipe, because you will fail a lot of recipes. That one recipe to crack takes at least 10 recipes to fail. So just never be afraid of that. You will waste a lot of food. Just try not to throw it in the bin. Just try if someone eats it. So that's one my thing. But yeah, I tried a lot. I tried a lot of new eggless cheesecakes. I tried eggless tiramisus as well. I work a lot with aquafaba, which is the chickpea water. So I tried a lot of new things, and I think that's what helped me crack this eggless industry, and that's what helped me crack how we can deliver good quality products, great quality products, even without eggs or gelatin. So I think the market research was one of the things that dragged me into this. And secondly, with all this veganism that's emerging immensely, I thought it was a really good time to move into this industry. So yeah, I think that was one of the key drivers of me having a vegetarian or vegan bakery. Because when you're at culinary school, you will not be, you cannot tell the teacher that, I just want to learn this. I want you, they will be teaching you everything. And I think you should never be afraid of building your base and take it slow. So I think rushing is one thing that can damage your product in the long run. If you have a good base, if you have good know-how and knowledge of your recipes, then no one can destroy you anytime. It really builds your base. And I think knowing your base really helps you build a strong foundation of your brand and your recipes. So you don't really rely on anyone, and you're self-sufficient, you create your own things. And I think that's really important if you want to progress in business and differentiate yourself.
Awesome. That really helped. So, if you can see some of the things what Parth spoke about is being willing to make a couple of mistakes. As an entrepreneur, so many times the things that we do may not work out as planned, but you got to keep experimenting until you get it right. Another thing that struck me is that he talked about premium positioning. So when you have, any business, and that applies to this industry as well, you got to think as to what's your target audience, right? So if you're going for a premium end of the market, you'll use better quality ingredients. Therefore, your end price point is higher, and you're a premium offering. Whereas some people may choose something which is more mass market, so they'll use more of the local ingredients, focused on cost efficiencies, and keep their price lower. Both of them are good spaces to play in, It depends on what you want to do. So, I would be really looking forward to coming to your cafe and trying some of your eggless creations. I'm sure they'll be fantastic. Kartik, I wanted to ask you a question. So Delhi is a city where everyone loves the dal makhani and everyone loves their butter chicken, and there's so many tried and tested curries and flavors. But you've experimented a lot with regional cuisines. In fact, even getting the local foods from Indonesia as part of your pop-ups and your catering services. So what motivated you to kind of explore that?
Well, I mean, as much as I enjoy dal makhani, but it's not for me personally. It's not that great. It's nice, but it's a bit overhyped. I
hope no one got offended.
It's personal preference. Right? Food is very personal. Everyone loves, has their what they like. So as I mentioned earlier about differentiating yourself, right? So that's one aspect of it. Dal makhani you can get everywhere or whatever. Dal makhani is just a catchphrase. That's not. But there's a lot of the same product available in many places. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect is that I've been interested in regional Indian cuisines for a long time. That's the reason I went to the Bombay canteen. I worked there. Because they were doing very interesting things with that. Whether it was just directly making something from a particular region or using that as an inspiration to create something different. And I realized that in Delhi, there aren't a lot of choices when it comes to regional Indian food. You have some state bhavans, some of which are good, some are a bit so-so. Then you have a couple of restaurants like Jamun which do a few things in that space. But there's a big gap there. And Delhi is full of people from all over India who may or may not get what they used to have in their hometowns here. So, I have for example, a Tamil customer who said my sambar reminded me of her grandmother's sambar. So, there's potential there. So clearly, yeah.
So if you keep your eyes out, there are a lot of opportunities, just waiting to be exploited. You just need to be mindful of that, and it's amazing. So it's been a great discussion. Let's give our panelists a big round of applause.